What's up, everybody? Oakland 93 in the place to be. This is the Wrestling Corner, episode 7 of season 6. Hope everybody's had a nice weekend. I definitely had a nice weekend, specifically Saturday. You guys did not see the last Wrestling Corner, which was probably 2 weeks ago, and don't mind that playback because I'm about to turn that off. There you go. We did not see the last corner, which I believe was 2 weeks ago. Then Saturday, I had the privilege and the awesome experience of going to NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2. It was flat out awesome from beginning to end. When I mean from beginning to end, I even mean before the show started. It was fun. It was electric. This is reviewing Takeover and also reviewing SummerSlam, but I think it's also necessary to also just basically bring to you guys, explain to you guys, my experience, in the Barclays Center for Takeover. This was my first, not only was this my first NXT event, but this was my first broadcasted wrestling event. I had been to a live show before. In 2008 was Raw's first live show of the year. But once again, that was a live show. This was being broadcasted. So unlike live show, there were the cameras. When we got to the Barclays Center, there was the production truck right outside. Me and my friend Darnell had a great time. If you're wondering, me bringing up my friend Darnell, yes, Chris did not go. For personal reasons, I'm not really going to get too much into detail for a reason for why Chris did not go to Takeover. But me and my friend Darnell, when we pulled up there, it was loaded with people out there. And when we got inside, it was like a sea of red. If you watch Takeover, you can tell that most everybody was wearing a Nakamura shirt. Nakamura chants were starting before the show started. We thought when we first heard a chant from him, we thought that they maybe showed him up on the screen or something. But no. And speaking of Nakamura, one of the highlights of my experience at Takeover was meeting the Nakamura cosplayer. This guy had to have been a regular for the Barclays because the security knew him. Fans knew that. Oh yeah, he was Tyler Breeze last year for Takeover. And me and my friend Darnell, we took 2 pictures with him. He was a cool dude. I mean, he was spot on with the look of Nakamura. He had like the wig, had the jacket, had the pants. What the hell? Oh, and another interesting thing, we saw, we were not that far from Izzy. I instantly noticed Izzy when we got to our seats because we were in the floor level. And I was like, oh shoot, there's Izzy. And I got to take a picture with her. And let me just tell you something. Izzy is adorable in person as you see her on TV, and she's very cool. When I asked if I could have a picture, she quickly was just, oh yeah, sure. Took the picture with her, said it was nice meeting you. She said the same thing. But the only problem was that Darnell's picture did not save it. It bugs me out that picture of me with Izzy was not saved. Let me see if there's any, with that, let me just see if there's any, comments so far. Travis Tippin. That name's Travis. I believe you've been on the corner. Before. I believe so. Hey, how's it going? Universal Belt Design. I will get onto that. I will get onto my thoughts about the Universal Belt and also some things that came out of SummerSlam or kind of led into Raw. So yeah, my experience, being there before the show started was electric. I mean, even the New Day chants were going on before they weren't even there. They were gonna be there the next night. And then the group of people that me and Darnell that we had a blast. We had a blast talking to them. Exchanging conversations with. They were flat out awesome. One thing I will say is, if I don't know if you guys noticed, because most of you only just see me sitting down, but I am not the tallest guy. So being in the floor seat when you're not really front and center can be a little bit of a problem, because if everybody stands up, I'll kid you not, after the tag team championship match, I started standing up on my seat just to see the entrance, of seeing people actually come out, because initially, only time I could really get to see people was when they got to the middle of the ramp and when they got into the ring. But I always see people when they're coming, they're coming through the curtain. So after a while, I just started standing up on my seat, and I got better, a better sight. So we were able to see the pre-show. The pre-show match. The pre-show match was, the pre-show matches, the two matches were returning Ty Dillinger. So, and once again, knowing NXT, the pre-show matches will be airing this Wednesday. That's how NXT normally does it. They normally air the pre-show matches the first NXT after the takeover. So Ty Dillinger returned to go up against Wesley Blake, and man, we were ecstatic to see Ty back. Passionate 10 chants. And we rided Wesley Blake. The guys behind me, they were chanting, they were calling him fake Ziggler, fake Shawn Michaels, and then we just started chanting, you're zero, and also Murphy's better. Good match for Ty to come back. Wesley even got some good offense, and he had a big clothesline. But Ty Dillinger, I was so happy to see him get the win, because I've always said Ty Dillinger's been the only person in TNA, what the hell, TNA and NXT, where when they lose, I'm like, well, why are they always losing? There's more of that on the main roster, somebody that's talented, but they're losing. You're like, why are they losing a lot? Ty Dillinger was the only person for me in NXT that I would say that when I'm like, they're popular, they're over, they're good in the ring. Why are they always losing? It was so good to see him finally get the win, and he seemed, passionate to be back and to get that win too. Then the next match for the pre-show was TM16 versus the Authors of Pain. And man, when the Authors of Pain came out, the dudes behind me, they were calling him Fat Shield. They were calling that one look like D'Lo Brown, which I kid you not, when I took one look, I was like, yo, he does look like D'Lo Brown. I said, that one look like former New England Patriot Aaron Hernandez. And people agreed with me with that. Even though the Authors of Pain won, I gotta give TM16 credit. When they got on offense, they hit Authors of Pain with some hard shots. Mostly every shot had an echo effect. And they did their flying moves and everything, but in the end, the Authors of Pain did that double smash up power bomb, and then hit that Russian leg sweep clothesline combination for the victory. So Authors of Pain, got the win. And, seeing them in person, they are big guys. Kid you not. Oh, man. But now on to the main show. The actual Takeover show. Hold on, let me just check. There's John. Takeover was better than SummerSlam. Personally, I feel the same way. Travis, WWE Universal Belt Design sucks. Once again, I would give my thoughts on that. John, I love Ember Moon. Yeah, I would get on about Ember Moon too. But we get on to the main show. Kick it off with No Way Jose versus Austin Aries. No Way Jose's entrance, that was an entrance that I did want to see in person, and I knew that it would be, pretty cool. He had like a conga line. I joke, I go first, I was like, I guess he stole Adam Rose's gimmick because like he had like a line with him, and No Way Jose, he got a great reception. He got a pretty great reception, but then once Austin Aries came out, it was just pro Aries. It wasn't like it was anti Jose. It was just pro Aries after that. Once Aries came out and the match started, it was pro Aries. And even though I felt that No Way Jose would lose his match, which he did, I felt this was his coming out party. That he needed to have a good performance, something to stand out, and he certainly did. He showed more aggression, did a nice TKO, did a modified Falcon Arrow, which I actually thought probably would have been the finish, but Austin Aries kicked out. And Austin Aries was able to hit, was able to hit the IED and the heat-seeking missile. Trying to go for the Brain Buster, wasn't able to get that. Jose was able to fight out the last Chancery. But then in the end, No Way Jose, he got a sunset flip power from the top rope into the last Chancery. Austin Aries gets the submission victory. Then he goes on to beat up No Way Jose even more. And the interesting thing was when we was pulling up to the Barclays, me and Darnell, we was talking about what we feel probably would happen with Takeover, and he felt that Austin Aries' next feud would be against Hideo. And man, did Darnell call it, because Hideo came out for the save. Austin Aries tried to bum rush him before he could really get in the ring, but it backfired as Hideo was able to get his kick combination. And I thought that was it. Next thing you know, the crowd starts chanting GTS. GTS. I'm thinking, oh, yo, he's going to do the GTS and let's do it. And man, he finally on a broadcasted NXT show, because he has done the GTS. He did it on a live show against Breeze. He hit the GTS, basically 18 months of build to that move. Oh my God. Oh my God. Here's the GTS. Crowd went crazy. I went crazy. And it was so great to witness the first GTS, of Hideo, basically broadcasted. It was good to witness that. So we already know what's in the cards for Aries and Hideo themselves against each other. It's not bad. Then we get on to the second match, which I kind of figured would be the second match, will be Billie Kay, even though I don't like calling her Billie Kay. I like calling her by her original name, Jessie McKay, against the debuting Ember Moon, formerly known as Athena. In my section it was only me, Darnell, and the guy next to me that knew about Athena, that knew her as Athena before Ember Moon. And obviously this was more of a showcase match for Ember / Athena. Jessie did get some offense. She got a hangman, then into basically a gory bomb. But most of it was Athena showcasing, what makes her popular, her athleticism. She was able to land on her feet with the hip toss and do the signature arm drag, special arm drags. And then when she, started making her comeback and she did the handspring form, I knew, I was like, here it comes. Because we was all wondering, is she still going to be allowed to do, her finisher, the O face? And when she got her top rope, I was like, and it was one situation where having knowledge of her paid off, because when she got on top, I got up immediately because I knew it was coming. I was like, here we go. And when she did it, and the small people was like, oh shit. I'm like, that's what you do. That's what I'm talking about. And Ember picks up the win on her debut. Then the interesting thing was, once again, since I was there and started watching on TV, I didn't know about her eyes until when I looked up, on the scoreboard, where the big scoreboard would be at if it was a Nets game. And after they show the replays, and when they go back and they show her, I'm like, oh shoot! I'm like, oh shoot, she got red eyes. Dug the entrance, dug the music, already dug, Athena. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get, the Sailor Moon tribute chant. She is the one named Ember Moon. She is the one, Ember Moon. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that chant going. But all in all, I expect great things for, Ember in NXT. She's a phenomenal talent. She definitely is. And I expect her to, hold the NXT women's championship, in the future. And I expect her to have a great series of matches with Asuka. I definitely do. John, the W made Bobby Roode at Takeover. If I am not mistaken, I believe that was the next match. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that'd be a good segue because I believe that was the next match. Yes, it was. That was the next match. Bobby Roode versus Andrade Almas. Once again, pro Roode. And I started to joke. After Takeover, I read somebody's review and they were talking about this was all about Roode. Even in the promo package, which they showed before the NXT before Takeover. The promo package is all about talking about Roode, and it's like Andrade just happens to be in the video package. He just happens to be in it, but it's all about Roode. And when Roode came out and the glorious music hit, we had a blast singing along to that theme. I remember before the show even started, I actually had to help somebody with the lyrics because they didn't know the lyrics that well. And I was like, yeah, glorious. I will defend. I won't give in until I'm victorious. He was like, oh, so that's lyrics. I'm like, yeah. And I'm looking for what the hell? I'm looking for Roode at the stage. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh, he's up there. Like ascending from the heavens. Remember Darnell was just like, he's coming down from the heavens, almost like a la Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 25. And then when Andrade came out, he didn't really get cheered, he didn't really get booed, he really didn't get anything. It was all Roode. And one of the guys behind me was like, Andrade is, he does cool stuff. I'm like, yeah, he does. But I was like, he needs to change that finisher. And Andrade, he hit his nice stuff, like his flying maneuvers, and Roode, hit a nice stalling vertical suplex. It really wasn't the best of matches because even when I came back and I asked Chris what he thought about, I was just going over the experience, and Chris said he didn't really enjoy that match. But the one thing was interesting when the ending came. I first looked down, and next thing you know, everybody's like, he had a pump handle slam. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, he had a pump handle slam. So I look up in the ring, I'm like, what the hell? Pump handle slam. I'm like, that's kind of like whatever happened to the Roode bomb? The 5-man carry neck breaker slam. I hope Roode if he doesn't go to that, either goes to the perfect plex. Perfect plex will probably be called the glorious plex. Because pump handle slam, After Road Dogg, I've never bought that move as a finisher. Never have. I've never have.
He is in the WWE Championship picture. And again, the most prestigious championship.
The next match on the card.
Both of these superstars were
Next match on the card was probably the match of the night. The match of the night. The match where I really felt, oh shit. The match where I really felt the roller coaster ride. The ups and the downs and the oh my god, was the tag team championship match, which I knew before I would probably kill it. I knew before I'm like that's probably going to the match that kicks off like the real the real excitement, like excitement in terms of match wise. Wait a minute, hold on. You're watching SmackDown. Hey, you're about the Superman. Oh. Oh. No. Johnny Gargano. Tama Ciampa. Oh, no, it's not Tama Ciampa. It's not Tama Ciampa. It's Tommaso Ciampa. And versus the Revival for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Johnny Gargano and Ciampa, they got a great reaction. And live in person, they got a great reaction. The crowd was ready for them. And by the way, they also got a tag team name. I think it's what was it? DIY. Do it yourself. Kind of goes back. I think before the match, Ciampa had a backstage segment, with Gargano based showing the shirt. And I guess it just goes back to that if you're gonna do something, do it yourself. As oh my god! No, I joke. If anybody's seen Fifth Element, with Gary Oldman, and he's like, as Zord, if you want something done, do it yourself. Yeah. But this match, once again, was, this was the match where I think I started feeling, my throat starting to, go sore, because it was just a roller coaster from beginning to end. Many false finishes, that caught us, and then even the story of was oh no. Was Ciampa going to turn on Gargano because of the Cruiserweight Classic? We was all talking about that during the match, right? And so when there was a part in the match when Gargano was when Ciampa was in peril. He was in peril, and he was gonna make time for Gargano, and Gargano dropped. The guy next to me thought that Gargano turned on Ciampa, but then I was like, no. I'm like, the Revival did their signature. They went under the ring and then pulled off. One thing in the Revival, bringing back the old school stuff of tag. That's what makes the Revival great. The little things with them definitely count. But when Gargano hit his spear, and
it's official. Dean Ambrose will defend the WWE World Championship against AJ Styles 2 weeks from this Sunday at Barclays, only on the WWE Network. Stay tuned for Talking Smack, Renee Young, Daniel Bryan, yes, the Usos, and Nikki
But
Bella.
when he hit the spear, no, Gargano, he hit his slingshot spear. But I mean, they had us going up and down with those falls, especially when we thought that Gargano and them had the match won. When they hit their tag team finisher, the super kick knee. And 1, 2, 3. And we're all like, yeah, but then I looked up in the score. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, oh, damn it, the foot on the rope. And I'm like, but there was probably still thought there was hope. But then the situation where Ciampa got thrown out in the ring. And Ciampa got thrown in, and Gargano, while he was watching it, he got a mean chop block. And then the Revival did the same thing they did to Kaz, jumping off the top rope. And I'm thinking, we're all like, oh, like, man, here we go. And that reverse figure 4 is locked on. And we're just telling Gargano, like, don't tap. And then he eventually taps out. And I didn't realize until, like, the girl behind me, like, he was right there next to the rope. And I look up on the 3 I'm like, oh, shoot, he was to the rope. And then immediately after that, we was like, here we go. Here's the turn. Ciampa's going to turn on him. Especially now that Gargano lost. And instantly, instantly it came to mind. I was telling people, it's going to be Owen Hart, Bret Hart all over again. Owen and Bret. He's going to help Gargano up, and then he's going to clip his leg out. Remember at Royal Rumble, when Bret Hart injured his leg and Owen Hart helped and clipped him? And even when he lifted him up, we're like, something, is still not right. And then when they're, he holds up the rope for him, and they're going up, the ramp. That's when I started looking at the scoreboard, and I'm just watching Ciampa just staring at Gar, and we're just like, man, they're on the camera on them way too long. We're like, something's coming, and they fades to black, and we're like, oh. And I'm just like, thank you. Because me and the guy behind me was just like, who's wearing the Paul Heyman shirt. We were just like, because NXT needs tag team. They're great by themselves, but at this point, NXT needs face tag team. Because if they go, then it's just TM16. But I have yet to rewatch Takeover, actually watch the actual broadcast, like from the network. I may plan on doing that, maybe this weekend. But my gosh, the atmosphere during that match, it just skyrocketed. The 1, 2, and this is awesome. That's when they all came, and oh my gosh, for my first broadcast wrestling event. And that to be the tag team championship match, can't get any better than that. Then we get on to the next match, which in a way was basically kind of like the penultimate, how they pronounce it, the ultimate match for the women's championship, Bayley versus Asuka. And this is definitely when I started standing up on my chair, because I wanted to see Bayley's entrance. I wanted to see Asuka's entrance. I wanted to see those, and especially Bayley's, because like it seems like I knew the pop that Bayley would get when she came out, and man, did she get a big pop. And I was there to see before the show them giving out the hugger section, little signs. So if it wasn't like if it wasn't like Nakamura's shirt, it was Bayley's shirt that you saw a lot in that crowd. Bayley came out, thunderous ovation. Asuka came out, man. I dug Asuka's entrance in person. Hearing the music even louder in person, you know, that's music where I just gotta get my groove on when Asuka music comes on. You know, and I just dug her swagger, and she was just coming out. And the fight with the guy in front of us, who he said he dragged his girlfriend along. I'm guessing his girlfriend, not a big wrestling fan. Okay, when you use the term, I dragged the person. It's almost like, yeah, they maybe didn't want to go. He was like, I've never really rooted for a women's wrestler. Yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm sexist in that degree, but Asuka's effing awesome. So it's almost like a kind of a like, oh man, for women, but it's almost like out of all of them, to him, Asuka stands out the most. He finds her the most awesome, and Asuka is awesome. And for the match, the match started off. It was not. I'm not gonna say it was like Asuka. I mean, it's not like Bayley and Sasha in terms of how it started, like simultaneous, like hold for hold and whatever. But they didn't really start off with like some long chain wrestling process. They got into it quickly, especially Asuka. For the early going, Asuka was just having her way of Bayley to the point where she was all smiles. And the point got it next to me, like, I think she's having too much fun. I'm like, yeah, she was just all smiles, just having her way with Bayley, with the hip attacks and everything. And man, when Asuka hit that sliding kick while Bayley was hung, I just saw, because I clearly could see it. And I was like, oh my God. And I talk about how the Ciampa, basically the tag change kind of kicked off the big excitement. Bayley and Asuka was the split decision match where it was clearly 50-50. Thunderous, Asuka, let's go Asuka, let's go Bayley chants, to the point where when they would chant, I'm looking around, let's go Bayley, let's go Asuka, I'm like, I just, let's go both. I'm like, I can't decide. I love both of them. And the guy next to me, he was very adamant that Bayley was going to make history again and win, because especially the fact that the four horse, the other three of the four horsemen, came out. The 3 out of 4 came out. Sasha, Becky, and Charlotte. And the thing is, where we were at, right behind us was where all the guests were coming out. So, because the first one was Ric Flair, which came during the All-Star Tournament, because we're like, woo, woo, and we're like, oh, it's Flair. Then the Cruiserweights come out. So we saw them. So we just got to see Coda and, Rich, Swan and Kendrick. And we got to see, when Mick came out, we got to see Mick. We got to see Becky, Sasha, and Charlotte. Becky and Sasha, they went around, but Charlotte went around closest to me and where me and Darnell were. So, and I got to see Charlotte kind of up close. And I was like, okay, she's pretty tall. But then again, I'm like, I'm not a tall person, but still, it's like she's pretty tall. So yeah, the guy thought that, the fact that that the rest of the four horsemen were out there, that Bayley was gonna win, they were gonna get in the ring, and they was gonna once again put the 4. And we're thinking, no, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I think it's this is her send-off. This is gonna be Bayley's swan song. And the one thing in terms of before the Bayley match, Izzy actually moved Izzy's seat. She went to the other side, I guess, towards towards where the hard cam would be facing. Because then once the match was over, that's when Izzy came back to her original seating with her family. So, but the match, There was a botch in the match. The botch was when Asuka went for the kicks, went for a kick while Bailey was lowered. It was supposed to be Bailey was going to like lift her up on a power bomb. I guess we're going to do the same thing she did to Alexa in that match, that great match. If you have not seen that, it was a pretty great match on NXT. But she lost her footing and she just dropped Asuka. I was like, oh, power bomb! Except boom, and the guy went, what an amazing power bomb! And then she tried to make amends, but still she couldn't really lift Asuka all the way up, so she just then did a dominant. I'm just like, yep, all hail Ron Simmons. Bailey, she was able to the Bailey to belly, but it got a big, near finish. Asuka, I believe, locked like the Kana lock, or Asuka lock. I think she locked in like 3 times. The first time she locked, I didn't even see her lock it. I didn't even know she locked until I looked up. I'm like, oh shoot, she has it on. And because I couldn't really see. I was actually looking in the ring. I couldn't what did she have on? And, oh, she got the Asuka lock on. And the story was that Bailey was not going to pass out again. There was a point where it looked like she was going to pass out again, but she fought out. And then in the end, with full, oh my God, with full defiance. There we go. For full defiance, Bailey, on her knees, challenge Asuka, took one more headshot, one more head kick, 1, 2, 3. Almost kind of like the Nia Jax finish. And the guy actually was kind of upset that Bailey did not win. And we're just like, yeah, but he was still thinking that Bailey was going to stay on NXT. He was like, so now what you going to do with her? There's nothing left for her to do. And we're like, no, she's moving up to the main roster. And instantly, when Bailey lost, and after Asuka, helped her up, which was pretty odd because coming into the match, Asuka was acting pretty heelish, even during the match. But she helped Bailey up and raised her hand before she left. And instantly, me and Darnell, we started chanting, thank you, Bailey, before everybody else really started, because we knew that chant was coming. So we saw the signs. We could just see the signs that, okay, she's leaving. This was her swan song. And, she went to go hug, Sasha and Becky. And then when she went to go hug Charlotte, got a big boo. And all I just thought of it as that I just kept saying, Charlotte, don't take it personal. I think, you've been doing a great job as, a heel. So I think the crowd's just showing that. I don't think it was go away heat for Charlotte. And she went to go hug Izzy. And we got to see Izzy come back around. And she's crying and everything. And she made direct eye contact with me when she was coming. And I just mouthed it, it's gonna, it's like, don't cry, Izzy. It's gonna be all right. But one thing that I will say about this match was, I think, and it's also NXT. NXT kind of set the expectation for this match pretty high, really, really high. And what I mean by that, because they kept bringing up Sasha, Bailey from last year's throughout the whole build. Bailey made history, in last year in Brooklyn. She's willing to, she wants to replicate that. They kept comparing, Sasha and Bailey's, magical and phenomenal match. And I'm thinking, even with that match, it was one of those things, like they say, magic happened. It was a match we was looking forward to. Because even before, I rewatched Takeover Brooklyn the day before going to Brooklyn too. And once again, before even the match started, the crowd was into it. They were chanting for Bailey, they were chanting for Sasha. But I don't think everybody knew that it was going to be that good coming in, that we knew it would be good. But not to the point where clearly we're like, that's match of the year. Not even like it's a match of your candidate. We were saying, no, that's match of the year. So I think NXT, they really set the bar high for Asuka, and No, they really don't. I mean, they really set the expectation high for Asuka and Bayley by kept bringing up Sasha and Bayley, and I just knew, I'm like, the match going to be good between Asuka and Bayley, part 2, but I don't think it's going to be, like Sasha and Bayley was. I just don't think it was, and not saying it was bad, but once again, kind of too heavy expectations. Okay, let's see. All right, John Nakamura versus Dave for the NXT Championship. Speaking of Nakamura, again, that was one of the entrances that I definitely had. When I started to get up on my chair, sit up, stand on my chair, I had to. And speaking of Nakamura's entrance, the entrance into it before his entrance, the entrance into his entrance, where the violinist, I saw his name, but then I forgot it. But I recorded that because I thought Nakamura was gonna come out like with the violinist, like when he just started doing the violin solo. And at first, Darnell thought like the guy who was coming out had like a samurai circle. How he pulled out, he pulled the instrument that the tool that you use for the violin, as like a samurai sword. And when he started playing, I just kept saying, he's killing it. It was beautiful. I maybe never played a violin, but it's one of those good music when you hear it, and that was just flat out beautiful. So then when Nakamura came out, and by the way, I recorded Nakamura's entrance. My God, just so freaking epic, his entrance in person. We're doing the it was like, oh my gosh, my gosh, entrance, then to see him do, the lean back. We just ate it up. And I even recorded Joe's entrance, during the Joe. And instantly, they set the tone of the match when the referee's trying to get between them and Joe, pushes Nakamura and they almost start to get into it. It just already set the tone for the match. Now, as for the match, I don't think Nakamura Joe was as epic as it was built up to be. It was good. And I can tell before the match started that it was going to be like a long match because it started kind of like, like a feeling out, which was kind of surprising that it kind of got to that slow part to the match because, throughout the build, it was almost like, Nakamura was like poking the bear. It was like he just kept poking Joe and like, Joe's going to look like he wanted to kill him. You really believed it too, that Joe really wants to kill Nakamura. And I agree with my friend Nate that I don't think that the match really got into fifth gear. But I tell you, one of the big spots of that match was a Nakamura German suplex Joe. We all went, oh! Because if you saw how Joe landed on his neck, it was like, damn. And, got to see Joe, hit, his suicide. Also, the move when, when Nakamura has his opponent, draped over the apron and it's that knee to face. Man, I could clearly see his knee connect with Joe's face. I'm just like, damn. Joe was able to, hit the muscle buster. Big kick out from Nakamura. Try to go for the muscle buster again. Nakamura was able to find a way to, I guess, bring his weight down to the point where Joe fell forward, where Nakamura was able to land on his feet and hit the Kinshasa the first time. We all thought that was that. We were like, oh, that's amazing. That was a pretty nice, transition to the Kinshasa, but it wasn't the case. Then Nakamura was able to hit the double knees in the back of the head, hit the big Kinshasa, got the 1, 2, 3. We all just started, once it was over and Nakamura won the title, we all started like, high fiving. It's all high fives. Like yes, yes, yes. Once again, I said it. I believe I said it on the last take on the last corner that it would have been really cool that for my first, broadcasted event, wrestling event, that there would be a title change. Because the funny thing was, every time the champion kicked out in the championship matches, my friend now would just say, "No title change." And the guy in front of him just like, "Man, you effort, you keep jinxing everything." Like, no title change. So it was great. To see that. And then now I see John, you say, is Joe really hurt? Yeah. Oh, it's not saying yeah to that, but I know what you're talking about because I noticed it that when the match was over, I heard somebody say, I think Joe's hurt. I look down and I see a glimpse of him rolling out the ring, but then I see the ref put up the dreaded X sign. And I'm like, oh shoot. I think maybe Joe is hurt. And then we see Joe get up and he's just holding his jaw. And I'm thinking, maybe a swollen jaw, maybe dislocated jaw. Because the last Kinshasa that knocked on her head clearly got him in the jaw. And so when I come back home, Chris told me that, the camera was clearly on Joe with him telling the refs like his jaw. And so then instantly, I was looking for reports, on the update on Joe, what was his status. And then it came out saying that it's done for storyline purposes. So basically Joe, he's not really hurt. So I guess it's to tell a story. So, but that's good. Don't really want to see, Joe or anybody, get seriously injured, especially during the fact that that's already happened with Finn Balor. Which now segues in SummerSlam. But once again, my experience in the Barclays for Takeover was for Brooklyn 2 was flat out awesome. Great company, great atmosphere. It was a pleasure to be there. I hope to be there for Takeover Brooklyn 3 and probably this time go to SummerSlam. And now speaking of SummerSlam, SummerSlam 2016. Instantly, one of the big takeaways from SummerSlam 2016 was we didn't get the Raw set for the pay-per-view set. However, I think I should now take that back because on Raw, they used the same set. And at first, I thought it was only done because they were still in the Barclays Center. But now watching SmackDown, it's the same set. And they weren't in the Barclays Center. They were in the Mohegan Sun Arena, in Connecticut. And I'm thinking, oh, WWE, you just had to, why you just couldn't keep that for SummerSlam? Now every set probably is going to look like that because they went all out. Now, not only did they have a nice looking, stage, and a LED like rampway, they had like a big, the ring posts were like bigger. The floor was like gray. It was just like they went all out. My cousin, he messaged me on Facebook. He was like, I look like WWE actually finally used their money that they have to actually make their set look like a pay-per-view set. So as far as SummerSlam 2016, it kicked off, with the hometown boys, Enzo and Kaz going up against Jericho, which I'm so happy that they've come together. Something that's been building since this year. Oh man, excuse me. It was great to see Enzo and Kaz, especially Enzo, basically, cut a high New York themed promo, mentioning, references to Frank Sinatra, to the Notorious B.I.G. Who else? What did he mention? But a lot of Biggie references to the point where, he just said, it was all a dream. Then just left it to the crowd. And you just start hearing the crowd just mouth, just saying the rest of the lyrics, it was all a dream, in magazines, you know, Salt and Pepper, like you know the lyrics. So it was just great, for I think that was like one of the first times there was a Biggie, reference in wrestling from a wrestler, probably in WWE. Probably in independent, maybe somebody has, representing New York has brought up Biggie before, but that's one of the first times I'm on the main roster. I mean, on WWE, somebody bring up Biggie, and who else but Enzo and Cass, As for the match, match was good. No, there was a scary part when they did their, signature, when Cass throws Enzo. It was almost a point where Enzo, almost didn't get all of it because when Cass threw, Cass was already falling over, so he also fell over the top rope. But Enzo was able to land on, KO and Jericho. Jericho, Enzo was able to hit the DDG, which is now is the name for his flying DDT. But but KO was able to break it up, and then it left to a pop up into a code breaker, which was damn near scary because it wasn't a clean pop up. So it was like Jericho got all he could with his knee to the point where it almost looked like Enzo broke his jaw. From me bringing up about Joe, it's almost like Enzo broke his jaw. And I'm like, oh my God. And Jericho picked up the victory. Their first big match as a team on pay-per-view, they get the win. Can't say I'm too upset. Can't say I'm too upset because it was kind of a win-win for me because, I like the tandem of Jericho. The chemistry of Jericho and KO was just flat out awesome. And I like Kaz and Enzo. So either or whoever won, it would have been cool with me. Then we go on to the second match. For the women's championship, Sasha Banks defended her title against Charlotte. I heard Steven Larson, for those of you that know or don't know, a couple of guys that do podcasts, they're on YouTube too. Steven Larson, when they were talking about their thoughts on SummerSlam, they were actually there for SummerSlam, and I believe Takeover. They had a point about the match that the match was good. Heck, I would say the match was pretty great. But I will go and say that they had a point with saying that one thing that took away from them from this match was it got to a point where they felt that Sasha and Charlotte were about to kill each other. And not like in a good way, but like in a bad way. Especially when the match started and, basically like in the early part of the match, and Sasha was like horizontally on the turnbuckle, and Charlotte went to go like sidewalk slam. And look like she's going to drop her on the turn, but Sasha, instead of just dropping, still holding on the turnbuckle, her upper body doesn't land on the rope, so it's just her leg and everything else just swoops and she just lands awkwardly. And from there on, it got to the point where when Sasha started holding her back, we was just like, while I'm watching it, and my friends in the chat room, we're like, yo, is Sasha really hurt? Because it just never felt the same after that. But, she still gutted it out. We couldn't tell, like, is she just greatly selling or is she seriously hurt? But then we're like, probably not, because Charlotte still kept going after the back. So, it was like, hip tosses into the tree of woe. And then it got to the real one, the amazing spot, but also scary was when Charlotte was going to go for a razor's edge from the top rope. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, while she's slowly lifting Sasha up, I'm thinking, last thing we need is for this to get botched because somebody seriously is going to get hurt. And Sasha counters it into her Karana a la Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. But the difference was that Sasha was like this close from landing on her neck. The crowd, gave their applause for that spot, but it was still a scary spot. And it has nothing to do let me just put out there. It has nothing to do with them being women. It's a scary spot regardless, because there's been times where when Ray was doing, he was, in his young days, that it would be on the tippy top. Person would be standing on the top rope, not like Charlotte. She was standing on the middle ropes. So it's like it's a scary spot regardless. So it's like one false move, everything just goes wrong. And the other big spot was when Charlotte tried to superplex Sasha, onto the floor, but that got stopped. And Sasha hit the flying double knees onto the floor. And I cringed because, I like my knees. Anytime I see somebody fall on their knees, it's like, ooh, because, it's like the knees are easily, damaged. They're out of all like our body parts, like cartilage and bone, like the knee cartilage and bone like can easily be damaged just by landing on it wrong. So when I see wrestlers, without knee pads, land square on their knees, it's like, ooh. So when Charlotte did, I was like, oh my gosh, my knees. I love my knees. Charlotte, Sasha, why would you do that? And Charlotte, Sasha would, she locked on the back. First, she tried to lock on the back still early in the match, but Charlotte easily got away. Then she locked on again, and Charlotte was able to escape. I think she made it to the rope and then escape. And Charlotte, hit the natural disaster. A natural selection. There was a kick out for that. She never really got a chance to lock on the figure 4 or figure 8. It always got countered. And then, the ending comes when Charlotte tried to go for a sidewalk slam off the ropes, and Sasha's able to tilt the world into the bank statement. And I'm like, oh, what a counter. I'm thinking that's the end. This is how it's going to end. And yeah, it did end, but it didn't end with a Charlotte tap out. It ended with Charlotte, leaning all the way back to the point where Sasha's shoulders were down in 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, oh, shoot. And easily the crowd was like, did not like that. I think they were taken aback by Charlotte winning. They started easily booing. Like, what the hell? And I was even like, whoa. And then the interesting thing was, once the match over, immediately other refs came in to check on Sasha. And I'm thinking, okay, I think Sasha is seriously hurt, because they wouldn't have other referees just rush in like that. Unless she was, they wouldn't have that unless she was seriously hurt or hurt in some way. And when Chris came back from work and he watched it, and he watched SummerSlam, the recap, the replay, he noticed when Sasha came out that something was wrong. And even I noticed when I first watched her edge, I was like, she's not carrying that same, boss-like swagger. When she came out, the look on her face was almost like, she was like, something was on her mind, like something, was bothering her. Like while she's coming out to compete, still in the background, like there's something that happened that, was bothering. Like maybe she was upset about something. And even Nate said he noticed it was Charlotte. Charlotte came out like it looked like something was wrong. So I'm assuming that, maybe they were upset that, maybe even Charlotte was upset that Sasha was going to lose the belt, so quick, because word is that Sasha's not going to be, or be around, be on Raw or live events for a while because the heal up nagging injuries. So it could have been that Sasha was coming in, hurt. It probably was, because the report said she already had nagging. But that awkward sidewalk slam in the turnbuckle spot just enhanced, the injuries. In my opinion, I'm kind of feeling that maybe the injury stems from when she did that suicide dive and how she landed, even though when Charlotte caught her, it was still a bad landing, on her body. And, we were all talking about, make sure Sasha, probably cut down on the highs. We respect her for her high spot. Part of me agrees, because I think I heard Stone Cold talking about something with Seth Rollins, how, like, this was before, the thing, it was like when Seth Rollins got hurt, how There's people that wrestle a certain style to get over. Then there's people that then after they get over, they wrestle a style just to stay over. So maybe in Austin, how Austin put, maybe Sasha is still wrestling style just to get over, and she's already over. I think maybe she should tone down on the high spots, but then again, she's really trying to stand out, not from the rest of the women, but just as an athlete. Period. She's trying to stand out. I think what put it nicely was when Darnell, he texted me while he was watching SummerSlam. That he said he forgot that it was two women in the ring, and that's how it should be. That's when that's how you know that it's a great match with women, that you're not even thinking that, oh, these are great women in the ring. You're just thinking, oh, this is a great match and there's great wrestlers in the ring. And that's what I like about when Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky and Bayley and Asuka, and how I'm a big fan of Shimmer. When I see them go, I'm not even thinking, oh, this is a great women's match. I think, no, this is just a great match. So Charlotte, becomes a 2-time women's champ. And I'm thinking, once again, I don't think that was originally in the plan. It couldn't have been, after building up Sasha, for a year. Because for a year, they basically had Sasha almost go practically undefeated in one-on-one matches. She barely got pinned, during the whole Revolution thing and everything. So, it just seemed awkward to have her get that, all that build, have her at that big moment, only for her to drop the belt, on her first defense on pay-per-view. I just don't see that was in the cards from the get-go. And it just had to be because Sasha was coming in hurt and she needed some time off. So we go on to the next match, which I believe was for the Intercontinental Championship. Let me make sure. Okay. Okay, just making sure. All right. Yep, the next match was for the Intercontinental Championship. I imagine that WWE basically forgot they were built the build, because after once Apollo Crews became normal contender, they just stopped building it, to the point where when there was a involvement between them, it was done during the commercial break, and it was like, during the commercial break this happened. It was like, seriously? And I'm looking at, they have the times here. The match was 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Because it was kind of going really quick. It wasn't that bad for a match, but at the same time, you couldn't really care for it too much because WWE didn't give a reason for you to care that Miz was defending his belt against Apollo Crews, or that Apollo Crews was going after Miz Intercontinental Championship. They didn't give you a reason to care. So it's like the emotional investment wasn't there. Even when Apollo pulled out that cool spot of, when he countered the DT and pushed up and then hit the front power slam. And then in the end, Apollo tried to go for the stingers, but he hit his head on the ring post, got cross finale, then, Miz retained the belt. Personally, I would have went with Apollo Crews winning because, like I said, with the Miz, I'm not the biggest Miz fan. I will agree that this year, in terms of match-wise, he's put on some good performances, but they have come on the behalf of who he's been in the ring with. The likes of Cesaro, Owens, Sammy, Jericho, and Zayn. And I always felt with the Miz, you get the best out of Miz in terms of in-ring when he's with somebody that can, hold their own. So I've always felt that during the draft, that them taking Cesaro, Sami Zayn, KO, all those guys he worked with away from was one of the worst things that happened, because that actually kind of helped his IC reign, because if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for the Owens, Owens, and Sammy, the Miz would never been a part of a match of the year candidate. That fatal forfeit combo would never happen. So I've always felt that those workers, those workhorses benefited Miz's reign. But after they were left, after the brand split, after they left because of the brand split, it's like, there goes, really Miz's match wise to really be meaningful or look forward to. And nothing against Apollo Crews is pretty talented, but it's like you weren't given a reason to care for a match. So it's like, come on. Now we get on to, like John just said, hey, you ever seen a match of the year? Probably yes. If you had to put a match of the year candidate, AJ Styles for John Cena is definitely going to be on that list. It's probably, arguably, currently the match of the year. Oh man, they were able. And first things first, with a rematch. The first goal should probably be that you top the first match, and boy, they did that. Did that, and then some, as they would say. The match was damn near perfect. I mean, Cena pulling out the big guns, hit a code red, which I call the code PG. The counters into the STF. AJ, hitting laying on his feet during the FU, hit the Pele kick, get near fall for the Styles Clash. Even though I have to agree with my friend Nate that it seems like mostly every pay-per-view somebody's kicking out of the Styles Clash. It's like, yo. Even when he first did it on pay-per-view against Jericho, it was a kick out. I'm thinking, you guys at least gotta make that move. Like, yeah, he hits it. Sometimes it's kind of over. If it's not on SmackDown or Raw, but I tell you what, when John Cena, when he hit the FU for first, I'm thinking, what are the chances that this match ends right now? Because it's one FU. Because that has happened before, where somebody throws all their arsenal at Cena, and all thing it takes is just one FU from him, and it's over. That wasn't the case. Then, when he hits the super, when he hits even before in the super AA, the part of the match where AJ, he hits a springboard hurricanrana from the apron into the ring, springboard hurricanrana. It's just like, yo, dude, he's phenomenal, man. Then even Cena, he put out some new move where it was like a modified big ending. He had like in a scoop slam, and then he just swung AJ around and hit like the big ending. So even Cena put out new moves, man. It felt like a main event match. It basically was a main event match. And it just topped the Money in the Bank match. But then the moment of the match had to have been when AJ got hit with the super FU, which I thought was the end. And he kicks out, and the crowd goes crazy. And the look on Cena's face, it's one of the first times you actually really seen, if you don't count his match against Brock Lesnar, that you can see the doubt in his eyes. He's like stunned that AJ is continuing to fight while AJ is pulling himself up like a champion. It was a flat-out face, but I agree with Steven Larson. The way the moment was set up, like you would have thought that AJ was the face. That it wasn't, a heel versus face dynamic. Because for the majority of the match, it really wasn't like heel face dynamic. Because it wasn't like there was a point where AJ just dominated the whole match, like control the match for a moment. There was a point where Cena controlled most of the match. So when he's pulling something, he just got seen, it's like almost like, yo, this guy's still fighting. I liked how, more on the base, it was almost like him looking into a mirror. No, basically like, how many times has an opponent, has dealt with that with Cena? Like he just won't go down. Never give up. AJ would not give up. And Cena tried to go for another FU, but AJ counters it to the Styles Clash, and I was already getting high. I'm thinking, yeah, this is it. And next, he doesn't go for the pin. I'm thinking, I'm like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bloodsport, like, what are you doing? Keep going, like pin him. And then he takes off the pad, cockstaff form or elbow, wham, phenomenal form. 1, 2, 3. I instantly got up. I'm like, yes. He went over Cena clean. Oh man, I was so happy for AJ. But it was an awesome match, but I was just so happy for AJ for him to have that moment. That was his first SummerSlam. So for his first SummerSlam, he can say that I beat John Cena clean. Because if there's anything in wrestling, that's a rarity. It's John Cena losing clean. That is still a rarity. That is still a thing where if it happens, you want to know where you want to know where you were at when that happened. It's one of those situations. After the match, Cena sits up, battered in defeat. And the crowd is giving him their respect. And I definitely felt that when the crowd was showing Cena their respect, it was 25% for his performance, but it was 85%. It was 85% of thank you for putting AJ over. That's where I think most of the clapping was for. It was thank you for putting him over. Thank you. So that's all the positives for his match. The only negative, and that has nothing to do with this match, the negative when you have a match like that in the middle of the card, it affects the crowd reaction for the rest of the matches. Because they now have to cool off and try to get their fire going again. Because that's what happened. Because the next match after that was Luke Gallows and Colin versus the New Day for the Tag Team Championship. Early in the event, Jon Stewart and the New Day had like a segment where it led to Jon Stewart become like an honorary member of the New Day. No, there's really not much to say with this match. It was pretty standard, but then when the finish came, it was almost like it was kind of a waste. Because the finish came, after they hit the Magic Killer on Kofi, Jon Stewart got involved again, but this time I guess for the greater good. And Carl and Luke was gonna do what they did to Big E. He was gonna give him ring post-itis, and then Big E came out and attacked him and called a DQ. And I'm thinking, like, well, that was kind of a waste. Thinking if that was the case, why just didn't have Big E be a surprise? That like you would have thought that was gonna be me and Kofi, defense of that. But welcome back, Big E. So I just felt it was kind of a waste. And, of course it led to the next night, New Day officially holding the belt for a year. So I think it was kind of a waste that for them to hold the belt for a year, it was just kind of a wasted match. But now definitely situation where because of AJ Styles and John Cena, it affected, a big time match, which was the Ambrose Ziggler match for the WWE, World Championship. And quite honestly, out of all the matches on SummerSlam, this was probably the best build. And it was just solely on the passionate promos from Ziggler and just how him and Ambrose, were feeding off of each other. So, it was just based on those promos. But the match, the crowd wasn't really too into it because they were still warming up, trying to recover from AJ Styles and Cena. As for the match, I thought the match was good, but how can I put it? It was really, one key thing was that Ambrose, it wasn't like, oh yeah, during the build he acted like a dick, but then act like a dick, but during the match he didn't. No, he kept that going. He kept mocking Ziggler. He slapped him almost in the beginning of the match. He mocked, him tuning up the band, tried to set him up for the dirty deeds with it, but it didn't work. But my problem with this match, and I think it's a problem with that, with a championship match. I think one problem with supposed to be a big time championship match is when after a while you don't really feel that the champion, could possibly lose their belt. I think that's the best way to put that. It doesn't feel like there's a threat of them losing the belt after a while. They got to a point where you didn't feel like, Ziggler was going to win. And I would not have mind him winning. Especially in the part where Ziggler he hit the super kick. And this one thing, he hit the super kick and it led to a near fall. Then he hit the zigzag that led to a near fall. And then the ending came. That was another thing. The ending really had no build to it. It wasn't like there was like a big, exciting, sequence of events that led to the build, led to the finish. And the finish came where, Ziggler tried to, I guess do his X factor off the top rope, but Dean kept countering it. And then he tried to go for it again. This time he was able to lift Dean off the ropes, but Dean landed on his feet and hit the dirty deeds. And then when Dean hit the dirty deeds, Dean kind of covered Ziggler so nonchalantly that I thought Dolph was going to kick out. Since he was talking about that you're going to be wondering where they're going to take the beat. I'm thinking, are they going to play that story up? And they really didn't. They really did not play that story up of. In my opinion, they really didn't play that yet. That Ambrose was going to have to do everything he could to beat Ziggler. I didn't get that feeling. I did not at all. I did not at all. I did not get that feeling at all. But it was a 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, oh man, that was it. And there's one thing I've noticed about Ziggler, or what WWE has done with Ziggler. They will have him hit the super kick and the zigzag, which are probably his finishers. Especially now the super kick has now become his finisher because he's now gotten more wins with it. And it will lead to both of them getting kicked out of. But then his opponent will hit their finisher for the first time. And it gets a 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking, well, in that case, then that kind of makes his finishers look weak. That they're able to kick out, but he can't kick out their finisher. It just takes one of that person's finisher to kick out. WWE has done that a lot with Ziggler. I remember in his United States Championship match against Cena when Cena was doing the open, challenge. That was the situation. Ziggler, hit the super kick, hit the zigzag a couple times, and the only thing it took was just, I believe, one FU, and it was over. So that was, Ambrose retains against Ziggler. Felt the match could have been better. It was a little bit, dampered by, the Styles and Cena match, but still. The story they were going with, I didn't feel it actually amounted actually an actual match, except for Dean still playing up being a dick towards Ziggler. Then the next match would be the 6-woman tag team match, which really was supposed to be Eva Marie, Alexa Bliss, Natalya versus Becky Lynch, Naomi, and Carmella. But since Eva Marie got suspended, it was wondering, okay, who was going to be her replacement? And her replacement happened to be the returning Nikki Bella. And okay, never been the biggest fan of the Bellas, but it is nice to know that she was able to overcome her career-threatening injury, because at the time it was almost like, okay, that was it for Nikki. They were like she couldn't wrestle again. That was the word. Bird is the word that she couldn't wrestle again because of her neck. So it's nice to know that she overcame that and she's able to get back in the ring. That moment she got a pretty good reaction. She came back. And when she came, she was coming down the ramp. Instantly, everybody in the chat was like, "Oh, well, you know who's winning the first? You know who's gonna be the first women's SmackDown, the SmackDown Women's Champion." I'm just like, gosh, I really didn't enjoy that long reign as Divas champ because she barely defended it. You know, it was almost like, yo, you had it for a year, but you really haven't done anything. A pretty cool spot in the match was when Becky had all three in the corner, and one after one, she kept hitting her springboard, high kick. But in the end, as we figured, since Nikki was coming back, she was going to get the win. And she did a new finisher, a TKO, which I won't be surprised. She called it the Bella KO or something. And she hit on Carmella, before hitting even saying, "I'm back again." And that thing, 1, 2, 3. So wait, Nikki Bella comes back and she's on the heel team, but then if you just saw SmackDown, she was about to cut an interview as if she was still a face, and it led to Carmella attack. So it led to Carmella turning heel on Nikki. So some more like already Nikki comes back and somebody might find a negative that she comes back, so now Carmella has to go heel. Carmella did lay into it, and the setup of it, like face or heel, you would be ticked off that I come out for a match. Then when she comes out, Renee is in the ring about to interview her while we're about to have our match. Like, wait a minute, what? But yeah, that was the tag team women match. It was pretty nice to see Naomi, hit some crisp, springboard moves, and of course, always great to see, Becky Lynch and Alexa and Natalia. Then we get on to, the Universal Championship match, the first ever Universal Championship match. And as John put it, we had a lot of comments. And our first Travis put, about the Universal belt design sucking. Yep, one of the biggest things coming into this match was the questions were who was going to win and what was the belt going to look like. And when they showcased the belt, excuse me, this yawn is not because of this. That yawn was not because I'm bored of doing this. I just had to go shake my head, just like, you guys are lazy. Only thing you did was just take the WWE Championship, make it a red strap, and it's like, you didn't really do anything different. Just add Universal Championship to it. I think I'm now going to start calling it about the 49ers belt. It looks like the San Francisco 49ers colors. And instantly the crowd rioted that belt. Anytime they showed the belt, when it was a glimpse of it, the crowd booed and started chanting, that belt sucks. That belt sucks. Instead of, hey, we want some Bailey. They started chanting, hey, we want a new belt. Hey, we want a new belt. Now, unfortunately, and I agree with Nate that this did seriously affect, Rollins and Balor, because the focus was then more on the belt. The crowd focused more on they couldn't stand the look of that belt. So it's like they were more reacting to the belt than they were the actual match. And that's why I agree with Nate that probably WWE probably thought the crowd wouldn't do it. But then again, it's like, yo, they can see that's lazy. They probably should have saved the reveal for the belt after the match, because then the crowd would have been more focused on Rollins and Balor. It was to the point where Seth actually tweeted something about, how, it doesn't, it doesn't matter how the belt looks, but matters, what it stands for. Brooklyn, you let me down. And I can understand to a degree where someone's coming from that. Yeah, you guys were more focused on, how the belt looked instead of me and Finn, going out. and put it on a great match, which they did. Of course, the Demon entrance was great, and now it's cool to know that now it's Finn Balor, the Demon King. I want to know. I want to know that's probably just when he's the Demon now. They're just going to announce as Finn Balor, Demon King. But unfortunately, match was great. Finn was able to win the belt clean, becoming the first Universal Championship. But he wouldn't really have it that long because immediately after SummerSlam was over, reports came out about Balor being spotted leaving a local hospital in a sling. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, don't tell me he's hurt. And yeah, he was, but they didn't know what the severity of it was. Then when I come home and I turn on Raw, and they already got the belt in there, I'm thinking, crap, he had to relinquish the belt. Apparently, he's supposed to be gone for 6 months. I'm like, damn. So within 24 hours, Finn Balor became not only the first Universal Champion, but became the shortest Universal Champion. And the move that caused it was a running powerbomb on the barricade. And it's the second time that powerbomb has caused injury. And it's now leading to many saying that, is Seth Rollins actually his record, or is that move too dangerous? Because when he does it, he throws people from too far of a distance. Because I didn't know it until they showed it again. And yeah, when he went back in his arm, if you look close, you can clearly see that his right shoulder looked weird for a little bit, but apparently he popped it back into place. He continued to match. You didn't know if Finn was hurt until after it came out that he was hurt. But now the topic is just on Rollins, back on Rollins, that is this guy seriously gaining a reputation of injuring people, injuring Cena, injuring Sting, now injuring Finn? I have to agree with I forget the podcast, and I think it's Don Castle, where he was like, he doesn't feel, him and his boy they do not feel that Seth should be rewarded of this by getting the belt. And in a way, I agree that in a way you got Finn hurt. I know accidents do happen. I know he didn't do it intentionally, but that's like the second time that move, for some reason now it's starting to hurt people. And the first thing I thought when I heard that Finn got hurt and why, I'm thinking, well, Bret Hart got more ammunition now, because if you guys don't know, Bret Hart for the past months, ever since John Cena got his nose broken by Rollins, and then Sting got hurt, Bret Hart has just been attacking Seth Rollins, credibly as a worker, saying he's reckless and everything. But now, at first I'm thinking, maybe Bret needs to back off. But now it does not seem that unreasonable, unfortunately. That's like, okay, now it's the third person. And they've all been in big matches. One was okay, but Sting was getting up there, but still, I don't think Sting was going to retire that prematurely. Yeah, he wasn't going to wrestle. Of course, he wasn't going to wrestle full time, but I don't think he was supposed to retire, that prematurely. That was supposed to be his last match. Night of Champions against Seth Rollins. I think that was supposed to be his last match. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. And I saw, John, that you said that Seth needs to stop doing power, and that's also now the other question. Will WWE probably stop Seth Rollins from doing the turnbuckle powerbomb, or will Seth just stop doing it just on his own accord? You know, he just stops doing it. And I have to agree with the only thing I think is Tony and Don Callis, that any move where you're being thrown and you really can't see how to protect yourself is a dangerous move, because you're landing, you know, and all this can be critical. I mean, why should I even say can be? I mean, correct myself, is critical damage all around here, the cervical area, you know, cervical spinal area, all around there. You know, that's dangerous. So, you know, when you're, yeah, all thing you can really trust is okay, you know, how hard is Seth Rollins going to throw me? And then when he throw me, I really can just see a glimpse of what I'm going to get thrown back, especially if it's on the barricade or whatever. And I just got to find some way to protect myself, because it seemed like Finn, you know, the way he tried to protect him probably was led to him. But also, it's like, yo, you see how Seth threw him. He threw him pretty far. So, yeah, now, once again, all eyes is are on Seth now in a negative way. Last thing Seth needs to be labeled with is, yeah, he's a dangerous worker. You know, as basically Brett, it seems Brett has tried to drive home is that, yeah, he's reckless. So I'm kind of looking forward to see if Brett gonna say something now, because once again, unfortunately, you know, now this is just reinforcing Brett's, you know, complaint about Seth Rollins being reckless. Unfortunately. And I have nothing against Seth Rollins. I like Seth Rollins, but you're not really helping, you know, freaking Brett. You're not really helping. You're actually giving him more ammunition. And, you know, and then now we're going to the main event. Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. Oh, yeah, wait, hold on. There was one more thing that I want to touch on about the Universal Championship match. One thing I did like. Since it was the inaugural match, it was pinfall and submission only. So you couldn't win by DQ, you couldn't win by counter, which was great. I was like, you know what? Any other time a wrestling promotion or WWE bring a new belt, that should probably be the stipulation. Pinfall and submission only. There must be a winner. You can't win the belt by count out or disqualification, because you know, since there'll be no champion, any win now will count for, you know, a championship victory. It's just that the belt cannot change hands, you know. And I want to bring up because Big Guerrero forgot that in 2008. Now we're going to the main event, Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. Once again, Brock Lesnar for the fourth, no, not the fourth time in a row. Third time in a row. The third time in a row, he's main eventing SummerSlam. And the match was what it was. You know, Suplex City, Suplex City, Suplex City, Suplex City. Randy Orton gets some moment of hope with the RKO on the, you know, on the table. Hits his DDT, hit it good. Goes for the punt, gets F5, kicks out. I believe it's another RKO kick out. Then it leads somewhere. Brock starts grounding and pounding after he takes off the gloves. And he hits him with an elbow, a 12-6 elbow, which, yeah, is illegal. If you haven't been hearing, it is illegal in UFC, and not just mixed martial arts, period. And it cuts Orton open. It's like it did with Cena. But this time, it's worse on Orton because he's in a pool of his own blood. And he really can barely get up. And they basically call off the match. I'm just like, seriously. They even call it technical knock. Instead of calling it due to excessive blood loss, Brock Lesnar, now they want to kind of teak out as if it's like it's a mixed martial arts fight. We got nothing against me. I enjoy mixed martial arts, but it's like that wasn't a TKO. He didn't really knock out Orton. the match, it was end on a stoppage because he had excessive blood loss. And it's just that's it. And then when the referees try to come and stop, from Brock from doing further harm to Orton, Shane comes out to get to Orton, but Brock didn't let him, and then eventually F5'd him. And you can clearly tell when it ended, when Lesnar's walking up the rim, he looks back, and then Shane is looking. You can clearly tell this is going to lead to probably a Brock and Shane match. And, let me touch on Brock Lesnar. Let me touch on Brock Lesnar. Hold on, before I do that, let's read some commentary from John. Joe will be up soon, hopefully, versus AJ for the Championship. I would like to see that. Yeah, I felt bad for Seth and Finn. They booed the match because, of the championship. Yep. Do you think Cena is done? I don't. No, word is Cena's supposed to be just taking another break. Okay, he's not going to be at Backlash, so I think he just take another break. He made it like symbolize like he was going. John, I think AJ will be the next WWE champion. I think so. I think that would not be I think that would be the more appropriate move. Now that since you guys just gave him that big win over Cena, I hope Finn wins the Rumble to face KO at Mania. I think KO will be the champ next week. It's either Reigns or KO that's walking out champion in Houston next week. I really don't see. Personally, I don't see the reason of having Seth become champ after him injuring Finn. Just there should be some type of punishment away. Even though it's accident. Once again, I'm not saying that Seth did it on purpose, but that's a big blow because Finn got the belt. I agree with the castle and them that you just know there had to been. W was just probably setting up all this marketing, everything for Finn and for him as champion, and only for him to lose. Oh yeah, and also by the way, seeing John brought up in the comment, yeah, apparently after the match, Jericho and Brock Lesnar got into it. Brock and Jericho was not a fan of what happened. I guess he didn't know that. Apparently, they're saying that it was planned to happen that way. Even though I disagree, I don't think that. I'm thinking unless this ain't the Attitude Era. So if Orton was supposed to lose that much blood on purpose, then unless that was happening, then I don't believe it. I don't. I seriously don't. But apparently Jericho and Brock kind of got into it because Jericho was upset over what happened. And, apparently the word is Brock called him a pussy and told him to mind his business. And Jericho wasn't going to take that lying down. This is the guy who, stood up to Goldberg. And apparently they said Triple H and Vince McMahon, broke it up. And they told Jericho that it was planned. I don't know if they were just done. They just said that Jericho was for Jericho to calm down. But let me touch on Brock Lesnar. Especially about these elbows that happen. There are illegal elbows in MMA. Everybody's saying there had to be an accident. I want to believe it was an accident, but then again, when I see him grinding his elbow in before doing, it's like, was it too much of an accident? Maybe the gash was an accident, how big it was, but maybe it initially was. And he did try to bust Randy open, Randy open. Maybe that was part of the gig that they did with Cena, but it's like he knows what he's doing, so it's pretty unfortunate, that it happened that big of a gash. But let me kind of touch on Brock Lesnar with this match. I am starting to get tired of Suplex City. And what I mean by that, it's to the point where you can map out a Brock Lesnar match now. You can map it out from beginning to end. You just map it out from beginning to end. Like which move is coming up next. You know, it's not like you can map out, oh, the face gonna get some offense, then you know they're gonna get cut off and the heel gonna go, and then it's gonna go back and forth. No, it's like after once Suplex City starts, like you can just map out what's coming next. With mostly all of his matches, if it's one-on-one. So I'm starting to get tired of Suplex. I know Chris is getting tired of Brock Lesnar winning. Because it's getting to the point where mostly every match Brock Lesnar in, it's like, am I really feared that Brock Lesnar is going to lose this match? You know, go grab with Dean. You know, which I still feel Dean should have won. But it's really getting to that point with Brock. And I know this guy could do it. If you watch his match with CM Punk in 2014, which was a hell of a match. Not 2013, which was a hell of a match. He was doing four-way slams, doing power bombs and bear hugs, and you know, and belly-to-belly suplex. It's like, yo, it's like I know you can do other than just German. Clearly in that match, anytime he flipped up Orton, he clearly was just turning him around to try and get by for a German. I'm just like, I'm like, okay, you know what? The excitement of Brock Lesnar match is now kind of getting over for me, now dying out for me, because it's just like all it is him suplex somebody, and then the thing is when it gets good when the person starts to get offense on him, and then just like that, it's over. It's just like I really think it's becoming tired of that, and I always find it hypocritical that the crowd would chant, you know, same old shit to Cena, but it's like Brock Lesnar is actually doing the same ocean. He's doing the same move over and over and over and over and over again in an eventual F5. It's like that's very hypocritical. And I still believe that if Brock Lesnar was doing that full time, I really believe that the crowd would immediately would quickly turn on it. But I think because he's not on every day, he's not on every pay-per-view, that yeah, they are relieved of Suplex City, and it feels fresh again when he comes back and starts doing it. But the way that match ended, especially with that segment, was like it was like a raw finish. It was just like I'm thinking. I kept saying that, you know, SmackDown is definitely not supposed to. I mean, SummerSlam is definitely not supposed to be like the Summer Mania. They definitely are now starting to promote it really as the Summer Mania. You know, giving it these long hours. WWE needs to cut down, in my opinion. They need to cut down with having these like 6+ hour shows. I think they really need to cut down on that. But they're really trying to show that SummerSlam is supposed to be the next Mania, like after Mania. But that's not how you end a Mania with some raw finish like that. It just left it on the dud. It's like, I'm just like, I know he's not, but he's just gonna walk up and that's it. And when I saw like the signature, you know, of the ending, I'm like, oh my god. You know, the crowd was chanting Goldberg because rumor was that Goldberg was in the area. And we was talking about that during Takeover, like, yo, is he, you know, probably going to come out and maybe spear Brock like how he did with Eddie Guerrero, but that didn't happen. So, you know, SummerSlam 2014, 2016, my mistake. 2016, it might be just like SummerSlam 2015. Had some great moments, but there was stuff that cannot be, you know, sneezed at. And it's like, yeah, that kind of brings it a little bit down. Especially how it ended. And once again, it involved Brock Lesnar. John Brock, yeah, okay, yeah. John, who do you think should beat Brock? I think Joe will. Yeah, man. I kept saying I'm just getting to. It's just the point for me. I'm like, I just want them to just start building somebody up to beat Brock Lesnar, and hopefully that person is Joe. I could definitely buy Joe beating Brock Lesnar. I can definitely buy that. But anyway, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed, you know, this Wrestling Corner. This was episode. You know, it was episode 7 of season 6. You know, me reviewing NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2 and also sharing with you guys my actual experience there for Takeover and also SummerSlam 2016 review. And now that I am done with classes for now, for the semester. So yeah, definitely now more than ever, the corner will be up you know, on Tuesday or so, especially Tuesday. But with that being said, no, this was wrestling. Once again, this was wrestling episode 7 of season 6. You know, I'm Hopeland 93. I'm always in the place to be. And until the next corner, you guys stay easy and peace.